and welcome to today's episode of Crescent Podcast. I'm your host, Lucy, and we're joined by Nick Inge of iTrust and Worldly Wise. Hi, Nick. Thanks for being here today. How are you?
I'm very well, Lucy. Thanks for having me. Nice to see you. How are you?
Right. Yes, I'm good, thank you. So why don't we start by finding out a bit more about you and what led you to set up iTrust and Worldly Wise. Let's take it back a bit.
Oh, how long have we got? 5 days? Yeah, well, thank you very much. So I used to be in the police. I retired in June 2019, and I spent most of my service recruiting. This is the background to iTrust, by the way. So spent most of my service recruiting informants, criminal whistleblowers across the UK and abroad. So I know how difficult it is for people to speak up generally, let alone in the criminal world, put it that way.
Of course.
And I realised not long after that I've retired from the police that we were selling as a team our trust in people, because they were trusting us not to spill the beans about who they were. So that was that. And I thought, well, I've been doing it for a long time. I'm certainly no James Bond, but that was my job. So how can I translate that into the sporting world? Because I've got 2 children, Eleanor, who's nearly 25, and Louis, 22. And Louis played a lot of football from the time he could ball through to the time he's still playing a little bit now. And I stood on the touchline as a dad and as a football fan, hearing all the nonsense going on. So I thought, look, maybe we can do something to enable people to speak up in football. Forget the whistleblowing word. That's a dirty word. No one likes to be a grass or a snitch. So speaking up is far more empowering as an expression. So I started running literally hotlines on my mobile phone for a club in Maidstone in Kent, where I live. And parents, this is in October 2019, and parents were leaving messages on my answer machine about nothing that was earth-shattering, but for example, people parking in disability bays where they shouldn't be, and maybe certain coaches not running their teams or managing their teams in the way the club wanted to do so. So nothing that would hit the threshold of the county FA, but stuff that would be relevant for the club. Because if you don't get it right as a club, and I've seen it, parents walk with their sons and daughters to another club because they don't want to be seen to be rocking the boat. So that went really well. And then friends of mine said, look, why don't you create a software platform? And this is friends of mine who got some very successful businesses whereby people can not only speak up, but they can suggest a change, like a suggestion box. They can report a health and safety issue. They can praise a colleague. They can fill in a survey. And I thought, well, that's a good idea. So all these ideas for where iTrust came from in terms of a software business came about by speaking to companies that said, can you do? And we said, yes, we can. So that was that. And then one of our clients, they weren't at the time, but this is going into in about 2020, going into lockdown, said, look, why can't you create a platform whereby if it's QR code enabled, because QR codes came back in, someone could be the victim of, say, modern day slavery in Vietnam, for example. They could scan a QR code on the back of a toilet door and send a report into their inbox in the UK. We went, oh, that's a good idea. So it's easy to access via QR code, easy to use. It's why, what, when, where, and how, and it's very timely. So the user can literally press submit report, and it goes into the inbox of the client. So, and with any evidence on it as well, which is really important to take that investigation forward. So they can upload videos and photographs and documents and voice notes and stuff. So that's iTrust in a nutshell. That's how it came about.
So iTrust can be applied to any business. Anyone can. It's got use everywhere.
Yeah. So like I said, I've got business experience now, but at the time I didn't. So we basically created and invented a software platform, which no one else, and I'm very proud of this, and I hope it doesn't come across the wrong way, but no one else in the world is doing, because of the way the platform's evolved.
Yes.
So when you think of normal reporting structures, they're either a near miss reporting platform, which is by itself in, say, for example, construction, or it's a compliance system, or it's a whistleblowing hotline, or whistleblowing. This is feedback in every single sense, and not just about the negative. This is about the positive. So clients have it as a way of, there's an insurance policy to stop people doing the bad stuff, because they know, for want of a better phrase, they're going to get grassed up because it's so easy to access and use by anyone in that business, not let alone staff, but any stakeholder. But it's about the praise. So, if you go to work and you got a report sitting there when you at your next staff appraisal that one of your colleagues has put in, or a customer, and said, oh, they've done their job particularly well, or they've gone over and above. But how powerful is that? Really powerful. So it's feedback in every single sense. And we have got a client in Australia now as well. So the platform goes across education, IT, construction, any organisations, charities that want feedback. They can have our platform. So we're in a good place in terms of where we are. There you go.
Yeah, that's fantastic how it's grown. What challenges have you faced with it?
Oh, what challenges haven't I chased with it? Well, first of all, not having a product to sell when I retired from the police, right? Literally, I had a name. A name. I mean, you can't go into many businesses going, right, I'm going to start trading with a name, but don't know what I'm going to sell.
See,
Right?
normally the name's the hardest thing to come up with.
Yeah, well, I came up with that in 2017. So we were on a beach on holiday as a family, and I was literally wandering along the beach to go back to where we were staying. And I thought, well, trust is everything, isn't it? Between any relationship, even to yourself, you have to trust yourself. So trust is massive. And I didn't want to create. It was going to be a whistleblowing consultancy to start with, but obviously it's evolved. But I didn't want to call it a typical name of what you might think of to whistleblowing. So
Okay.
I'm not going to mention any names in terms of companies that do it. It's unfair, but otherwise what happens is it engenders what the user thinks they're going to be going down the route of, i.e. whistleblowing. And I didn't want that because it puts people off straight away. And to
Yes.
speak up about the bad stuff in particular is really, really hard, right?
Yes.
Because people, well, the vast majority of people anyway, because they've got to step over the threshold of, you know what, I'm going against the grain here. I'm going against the organisation that's basically paying my salary, which might put food on my family's table and a roof over our heads, right? So I didn't want to call it anything to do with those sort of words, grass snitch, whatever, whistleblow. So that's why I came up with trust, because trust is everything. So, and then obviously it's got the eye at the bit. If you look at our logo, then I want the eye to represent a person, right, with a head and a body. So if you look at the eye in iTrust, that is I trust. I trust myself to do the right thing. I trust my organisation to follow it through, and I trust that the world's going to be a better place if I do this, right? So that's where it came from. No, nothing more than that. And the purple in the eye, because having no background in business, I googled what colour do people associate with trust, and it's purple because it's regal, it's the king and the queen, whatever. And that's definitely. I mean, what do I know about So that's where the purple came from. So
nice.
That's how it came about, really.
Okay. Different. So what about Worldly Wise then? Where did that come from?
So Worldly Wise is a completely separate entity. So I said I've got two children. Louis 22, Eleanor's nearly 25. So Eleanor left school in the same summer that I retired from the police, and she took a gap year before she went to university. And she was going off to Southeast Asia with her two friends. Her two friends had never been outside of Europe. So as parents, I mean, we've taken the children to a few places, but her two friends had never been outside of Europe. So as parents, as a collective, we were a little bit worried. We couldn't find the girls a one-day gap year course. So we created our own.
Right.
So there's a fellow called Travell Henry, who's a really super chap, and he trained me when I joined the police. So he's got a very successful de-escalation conflict resolution business. So his staff go into the likes of care homes, railway operators, to help their staff with de-escalation skills training. So he's very well versed in that world. So I said to him, would you mind doing us a favour, please? Would you mind putting together a one-day course? So for a day on cultural awareness, it's not like going out on a Friday night in your local town centre as an 18-year-old. You might dress in the way you think is appropriate. However, when you go to certain countries, it might not be what they want. So half a day on cultural awareness and half a day on physical safety. And that age, the girls, they were a bit cynical, but by the end of the day, they really loved it. And this was in September 19. And what happened was, word got out, because I was a volunteer for the Careers and Enterprise Company at the time, if you've heard of that. And basically, it's people who volunteer their time just, I think it's 4 hours a month just to help a school with their careers provision. But anyway, word got out to this Careers and Enterprise Company that would put this one-day gap year course together. The girls had to come back from Bali, literally, I think the week before lockdown. And then everything went online in terms of careers provisions for schools. And people then heard about what we were doing and started volunteering their time to say, look, I don't mind giving online storytelling to young people because they haven't got the careers fairs and work experience. So we created this WhatsApp group that grew and grew and grew. Eventually it got to like 70 plus people. And then in June 2020, just coming out of that first proper lockdown sort of thing, I said to Travell, I said, look, there's a demand here because the schools have got this one-stop shop of people. They don't have to go to parents and businesses saying, can you come and help out? All these people want to volunteer their time. Let's create something a bit more formal. Never take a penny out of it because you can't charge the schools. We just need a bit of money ourselves just to create a website and a bit of insurance and stuff. So we sat in the kitchen where we live and went, right, what should we call it, with my wife Heather as well, and like Worldly Wise. right, and created a community interest company, not for profit. So anyway, this grew and grew, and I got really busy with iTrust. Travell moved from Kent up to the northwest, and he's really busy with his business. And we were just literally matching, what should we call these volunteers? Our ambassadors. And it grew and grew, and then schools really loved it because it was helping. It was helping a need that their careers leads generally don't have a full-time role in terms of careers leads. They have it bolted onto their extra job as a teacher normally, and
Yes.
businesses want to give something back because they get a pipeline of people being exposed to their careers and their industry, and they get something back to it, and individuals as well. So, and then County Council got wind of it at the end of 2023 because they could hear what we were doing, and they had a big pot of money which was ring fenced from central government, which was about social digital inclusion projects. And they said, look, how can we help you scale this? Because, you know, the school's really given us some good feedback in terms of what you're doing. So we said, look, if we apply for the money and we're successful, we'll create a website which is effectively acts as a dating website between schools and businesses. Yeah. So that's what we did. So we applied for the money, were successful, and now we've got all sorts of schools benefiting, and the students, not the schools, but the students benefiting from people who volunteer their time driving from Medway to Dover to schools all over the county saying, this is my story. And in particular, it's funded about female STEM career progression. So generally year 8. I was just going
to ask about the STEM side of it, yes.
Yeah, generally year 8 female students who wouldn't ordinarily maybe consider a career in STEM, but they get exposed to those sort of industries and storytelling going, you know, when people left school, I didn't know what I was going to do, and then you can do this. So, and then this week, what's today? Wednesday. On Monday, we had an event where we invited 50 plus students to an electric e-karting arena in Gillingham called Saw e-karting. So we had lots of teachers turn up and lots of very excited students, and we had a few guest speakers who talked about their stories, and then the students had to go karting around the kart track, and then the teachers had to go as well. And it was good. And then we provided lunch, and they all disappeared at sort of 1 o'clock and started at 9 o'clock. So it was a good experience. And so, we've got a lot of interest and a lot of support. And we have a project manager running it for us, Kirsten, who's fantastic, and she rightly gets paid, but it's not about that for us. It's about so to join the two up in terms of iTrust. Honestly, the pleasure I get from it, we don't see the reports, they go straight to the clients, but someone's believed in the software. They scan the QR code or clicked a link on a website, and they've sent a report, not just about the bad stuff, but anything. So they're using the system, which is great. They believe in the system to have a feedback tool. And if I worked in any organisation, I think that's not a bad thing to have. I can report stuff, good, bad, and different, 24/7, 365, even on holiday, you know, and that's great. And we see some reports that the clients kindly share with us sometimes. And then for Worldly Wise, you know, and I can give you a lot of examples where students have, you know, benefited from an ambassador going into the school and giving their time for nothing. Not just that, but the travel time and their money in terms of fuel.
It's more than just that half hour they talk.
Yeah, and what we do with the students, we do a baseline survey before they have an input and afterwards. So what did you know about the construction industry? Year 8 female student, nothing. Oh, now I wouldn't mind working in the construction industry or manufacturing or production or whatever it might be. And that for us is why we do it, right? Because like I say, there's no money in Worldly Wise for us, and there shouldn't be and never will be. Obviously, iTrust is a business and we have to make money, but what we do it because we believe in it. We're not just making widgets for widgets' sake. We're doing it because, and honestly, Lucy, I annoy myself letting anyone else in the world. I'm certainly not the new Messiah, but you know, if you can make a little bit of a difference to people's lives in terms of speaking up, as well as, you know, inspiring and empowering young people to potentially look at a career, or even if they do choose a career, they can change to do something else. You know, nothing's forever. You know, and our strapline. Well, the strapline for iTrust is feedback that matters, because it's feedback that does matter, not just some old nonsense that goes into
having a moan about something. Or
no, and the client listens to it and does something with it if it's relevant, as well as for Worldly Wise, that you never know, because you never know where a conversation is going to go. You never know. Well, look, we wouldn't be sitting here if you hadn't gone networking, if I hadn't gone networking and taken a leap of faith in terms of, so it's those opportunities that you create. And I honestly, the older I get, I'm 56 now, but it's about doing it, and it's not luck. Honestly, the older I get, the more I don't believe it's luck, because you have to create opportunities. No one knocks on my front door saying, can we have iTrust as a software business? No one knocks on our front door saying, can you send a volunteer to go and inspire me? It doesn't happen like that in life. And I would give the analogy of lottery. You know, people become millionaires out of the lottery, right? But they have to choose to buy a ticket. Then they got to go and buy a ticket. Then they've got to check the numbers. Then they've got to go and,
Yeah.
you know, that's not luck. That's creating opportunity. Even if the opportunity is very
Yes.
slim, they're still doing it.
Yes.
Is that luck?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it is. You have to do things to make things happen in life. It
Yes.
just doesn't happen. You just lie in your bed for 80 years, nothing's going to happen. But you have to make things happen.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's impossible. It's impossible.
Just going back to Worldly Wise, you mentioned the year 8 year group that you have been working with. For some reason, I just assumed it was going to be older, probably sixth formers that you would work with. But you're getting in there when they're still quite young and forming their opinions about things.
Yeah, it was originally. It was a bit of everything because we would just literally see where it landed and that was it. But this funded project from KCC in particular, obviously it's public money. They particularly want us to focus on female STEM students, and ways evolved over the last year because the schools have said, look, year 8s, year 7, year 8s are generally this year group that we really want to focus on because then when they start making their GCSE choices, that's more impactful. So yeah.
No, it does make sense. I just when I was reading up on it, I was on your website earlier. I just assumed sixth formers, but it makes a lot of sense to target. I mean, year 7, obviously they're still settling into it and all of that. But so yeah, year 8 just it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think so. We'll be guided by what the schools want, and it's really lovely working with schools that really want to engage because some are better than others, and that's just human life, human nature. That's the way it goes. But you know, when people are volunteering their time and they're putting themselves out, it's nice to get a bit of even just a thank you. Sometimes it's not much. That's in life, let alone working with schools.
Yes,
so,
definitely.
You know, and then what happens is the students then benefit from the teachers who are engaging with us, and we're never going to change the world, and we're not massive by a long stretch. But you know, if we can make a little bit of an impact, then that's what we're doing. Then that's great.
Is it a variety of schools that from all across Kent that utilise the service?
Yeah. So on Monday, for example, we had Astor School from Dover.
Okay.
Who we've been working with for some time. Maplestone in Maidstone, Ebbsfleet, and the Academy on the island at Minster. So it's spread across the county. The project originally funded by KCC was going to be the east of the county, but what happened was, like a lot of these things, when word got out, and then so we have to make sure we're not overstretching ourselves.
Yes.
And maybe the model will change post KCC funding because the money came out of a certain pot of money which is no longer there. And obviously with local government cuts, that does affect things. But we have like, for example, we have lots of businesses interested in what we're doing, and we have a golf day every year, which seems ridiculous because me and Travell can't even swing a golf club. Honestly, Lucy, it's mad. The first year we did it, someone said, raise a few quid. So we went down to a links course, Prince's Golf Club in Deal, which is like very high end. And we turned up about, 12 people went out at the golf course. And me and Travell just disappeared at 10:30 because we thought, that's it. And they came back and said, I got a phone call saying, where are you? You've gone out and play golf. We don't play golf. They went, no, you have to be here. Yes. Thank the people for coming back. So then next year, we had about 20 odd people. And then we got them breakfast. And then we waited for the end of the day and thanked them. And there's a few prizes. Yeah. And then, so that was year 2. And then year 3 and 4, 2 people volunteered to basically run it for us in a different part of the county and then so third year we had about 68 golfers and a lot of people.
Wow.
Last year we had a load of 68 golfers and a lot of people just networking for lunch. And then this year we've virtually sold out. I mean, it's not until the 18th of September. So, and it's a West Morning Golf Club. And we honestly, me and Trevor don't even play golf, but people, they get it because they're buying into, the vast majority of people went to school, so they understand what they're doing.
Yes.
And the money we've used, so you've been on the website, we've not all of it, but spent it on some podcasts, because what we're finding is ambassadors were going into schools, speaking to a group of students, and then maybe that was being not lost, but then where's the benefit for other students? Yeah. So we thought, well, let's do a podcast series. So we're up to 15 now, and they're there not just for the students to listen to, but lots of adults get lots of takeaways from it as well, because they're going, oh, that resonates with me, And there's a bit of a spoiler alert, but there's a theme running through each half-an-hour episode if you had a chance to listen to them.
Yeah, I did actually.
I asked the same questions, and it's a spoiler alert, I'd like people to listen to them, but it's really interesting, isn't it? And the last question is, what worldly wise advice would you give to your, 16-year-old self, whatever it is?
So what my last question is.
Oh, is it? Oh, sorry. Well, yeah.
You jumped ahead of me.
Yeah, sorry. But it's good to reflect, isn't it?
Though.
Yeah, well, it's a good question. But what happens is people don't generally think about it until they get asked the question, because life and the treadmill of life is so busy that
Yes.
where do they suddenly take stock and go, what would I tell my 16-year-old self? Ooh, who's going to ask them that? Not many people, would they? But I suppose when they get a chance to think about it, it's different, isn't it?
I asked it to someone on a podcast a few episodes ago, and she chatted through her answer, and then she asked me the question back, and I was like, I have no idea because no one's ever asked me before. It's always me
Yeah,
asking.
yeah.
So go on then. What advice would you give your younger self
Oh,
about
okay. Well, I would say,
work or life or?
well, look, so as I've got older, and I'm not coming to the end of my life, hopefully, but you reflect and you learn a lot, don't you? And I used to, I still overthink things to a point, but I think I would say to my 16-year-old self, don't worry as much, because, and I say this to our children, that, you know, it always works out. Something always works out. And I said
Yeah.
to Eleanor's in Melbourne, she graduated 2 years ago, and she's living there on another gap year, or she's into her third gap year now, and good for her. And Louis, he flew out to China last week, and he finished at university a few weeks ago, and he's teaching English as a foreign language in China. And I say to them, just go and see what's out there. Go and travel. Go and see. Do what you want to do. Don't think what me and my wife, what you think me and my wife want you to go and do, or the school, or the university, or your friends, or society. If you're interested in doing something, go and see it, right? Because you never know what's around the corner with anything, health wise, money wise, relationship wise. Just go and give it a crack, because you get to the end of your life and think, oh, I wish I'd done that. Try and have no regrets. I mean, it's virtually impossible, but just go and see what opportunities are out there, and always make sure you got a few quid in your pocket. Because I've been in a position where, I mean, I flew to Australia, so I graduated, took a gap year, and then I went on a one-way ticket to Australia. My mum and dad must have been tearing their hair out. Anyway, and then went travelling around South West Australia, Perth, and then down to a place called Albany, and literally hardly had any money left. And I remember I said this story a few weeks ago to my son before he went out to China, and it sounded like an old man talking to his son, but anyway, whatever. And we couldn't really feed ourselves. This fella that I met and was travelling with, and we got offered the chance to scrub mussels for this cycling group that had cycled from Perth for their barbecue. So they collected the mussels. If you scrub the mussels, lads, you can have some food from the barbecue. And I remember thinking, this is not a great position to be in. I can't really afford to feed myself. Someone's given me some charity sort of, as it were. And I thought I'd never want to be in that position again. And it's not a good, but you've got to go through that to understand what it's like to have
Yes.
no money and travel and feel lonely and chat to people and make conversations from nothing. And then, and I always think, life's not too difficult sometimes if you put a smile on your face, you work hard, get on with people, don't take life too seriously, and things will happen for you because people give back, because that's, this is human nature, like you. So, Nick, how do you fancy coming on the podcast? Well, we don't know each other very well, do we, at all? I mean, really, apart from
No.
a few conversations, and here we are having a chat. So, but that's what happens. Or people, I mean, we went on a cruise a few months ago, me and my wife, and met this really lovely lady who just split up with her boyfriend, and she lives in Germany. And we were talking about Riesling wine. She said, I live in Frankfurt. She said, that's right near the Riesling area of wine producing area of Germany. Come and stay in my flat in Frankfurt. So we went out there like 3 weeks ago and spent 2 nights in this. And she had this lovely itinerary. And yet, when I was traveling and my wife was traveling, she did Southeast Asia far more than I ever did. And people put themselves out to put you up. As long as you're nice and you say thank you and just be genuine,
Yes.
and it
Yeah.
works both ways. We had someone stay with us last week. We met on a wine tasting a couple of years ago in Spain, and he's from New York, and he stayed with us last week. He's coming to London. I said to him, Paul, do you fancy staying in our house? He said, yeah, he's a really nice fellow. Had a good laugh. He went back to New York on Sunday. I'm not opening my door to the world and his wife, but if people are nice to you, then it
Yes.
reciprocates, and you don't
Yeah.
do it for that reason, but it just makes the world a nicer place, isn't it? If people can help each other.
And it makes a difference.
Well, massively, yeah, and you meet new interesting people with different backgrounds, and you learn so much from them. I mean, this is different because you asked me a question for this podcast, but you ask questions. You think, how have you end up working for some big high finance company, or working in whatever, in property in Frankfurt, or in terms of what you do? I mean, we could turn this on its head, Lucy, and I could ask you a lot of questions for an hour if you wanted to. I'm joking,
Well,
but maybe another time. But it's interesting, isn't it? Everyone learns from each other. I find it honestly, I find it fascinating.
Yeah, when I went to university, I studied criminology and psychology.
Oh, there you go.
And now I do this and social media and marketing and digital things. It's very different. But yeah, everyone's journey's interesting, I think.
Everyone's got a story to tell. Everyone's got a background and everyone's got a history, and you never judge anyone. You never judge anyone because you might think, oh, they're going to be this sort of person. You're not 9 times out of 100, you're wrong. And then literally when you start learning a bit more about it, you're going, what, you did that? You were the world juggling champion, or I don't know what it was. You know, no, seriously. It's like, I met this bloke, there's a bloke I've known for a few years, and I said to him a few weeks ago, I said, what did you do when you left school? He said, we went hitchhiking to Israel to go and work on a kibbutz. I said, what, and you're 18? He basically said there were 4 of them set off. They got to Germany. One of them ended up playing second division football because he got spotted when they were having a kickabout. So he ended up as a professional footballer in Germany. Then the 3 that got left got to Greece, and then one of them met a shepherd's daughter. He never left Greece, and as far as he knows, he's still working on the farm in as a shepherd in Greece somewhere. The other 2 ended up on the kibbutz, and one was driving a tractor, and there was all these noises going off, and they were being fired at by people across the border. So when he came back to the UK, so you know, like anything, what amazing stories. Yeah. Amazing stories. You never judge anyone, I'll tell you.
No, you never can tell.
No.
So with Worldly Wise, are you obviously I appreciate that a lot of it is KCC funded and you're waiting on that, but can people still sign up to be ambassadors?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you sign up as a business, or you can sign up as an individual. Your details will go through to Kirsten, who's our project manager, and then she'll get back in touch with you. And there's no expectation in terms of minimum commitment, maximum commitment, any cost at all. You know, if you can do it, you can do it. If the school wants someone to, you know, can you come and talk about social media, websites, you know, Your Journey Lucy, and it's local, if it's whatever you want to do. That's why we want to make it completely flexible, because, you know, that's for schools and businesses and people and individuals, because they're busy, they've got things going on outside of that, and we're super, super grateful that anyone will put themselves out to go, and even if it's a one-off, I mean, it's absolutely fine. Even if it's people signing up, they want to offer their support by just signposting us towards schools because their son or daughter goes there. I mean, that's all it is. It's honestly, it's this loose collection of people all there for the same reason, and that's all it is. It's nothing more than that. And I'm very simple. As you probably gathered in the last 42 minutes, I'm very simple. But iTrust is very simple, right? In terms of a concept, there's a lot of tech behind it, but it's a simple platform to use, and there's a simple message being sent.
I've used iTrust at some Synergy events, and it's brilliant.
Oh, thank you very much. Cheers. Yeah, they're a client of ours, so that's fantastic. Yeah, that's a great networking event. However, things can be improved in anything in life, right? So that's great, and thank you for using it. Very great. And Worldly Wise it's not the same, obviously, but it's a very simple concept. People want to volunteer. Teachers go, right, thank you very much, and students listen.
That's brilliant. Well, I'll make sure I put links to both of those in the blurb about the episode so that people can go and check them out. And if someone wants to volunteer or speak to you, then they'll be able to see all your details.
Yeah, and even if it's one person and then one student in 6 months or a year's time or 3 days or whatever benefits, I honestly promise you, that's why we do it. So we got a half decent, you know, social media following. So, you know, word will get out, and then that helps you obviously spread the word about what the great work you're doing as well, and certainly this podcast. I'm super grateful, honestly. I mean, I can talk, as you can gather, but any platform where we can, you know, help each other in terms of what we're both doing, it can only be a good thing.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been lovely to hear about all your projects and endeavours and things you've got going on. And thank you everyone for joining us today and listening and watching wherever you are. And we will see you soon. Bye.